Thank you very much, Stuart, for your kind introduction. It's a very great pleasure to be here, and especially in this building, Ronald Reagan building. I have not the opportunity to meet President Reagan. I can express a lot of times my admiration and my respect for this President Reagan. And it is always, distinguished guests, this is always a pleasure to be in the United States, in this great capital city of Washington, and amongst such good and gifted people. However, today it is especially gratifying because I am here to support a project on which I have always been a firm, some would say stubborn, advocate. The project to create a transatlantic area of free trade. This is indeed a special visit and a special event. That is why, first of all, I very sincerely would like to thank AT&T, and its Senior Executive Vice President, James Carney. James' help has been essential in the organization in this working lunch and in getting us all together to share our views and our ideas on a subject that can dramatically change the lives of millions of people across the globe for the better. We are talking about a gigantic move forward in commercial, economic, political, and geostrategic terms. A major opportunity for growth and prosperity built on the basis of one of the most solid alliances history has ever known. The alliance between the different nations united, not separated by the Atlantic. This is the object of today's meeting here, and that is the subject of the strategic report that I am proud to present today. Published a couple of months ago by FAES, the think tank I am honored to preside, this report is the result of the hard work and outstanding vision of two exceptional young men, the economists Joseph Quinlan and Jaime García Legaz, who before becoming a brilliant Secretary of Trade for Spain, was Secretary General of Foundation FAES. In this report, Joseph and Jaime make the most powerful case ever made to date for a free trade agreement between Europe and the United States. No study published so far on the subject is so comprehensive, so convincing, or so useful. It not only provides all the intellectual and economic arguments for a transatlantic free trade area, it also outlines the steps, decisions, and measures that needed to be taken in order to get it working. It is a real roadmap which FAES offers today to those people who have the opportunity and the responsibility of making a great idea an ever better reality. For many years, a transatlantic free trade agreement was seen as improbable or outright impossible. Not anymore. The TAFTA is now a real possibility. The US administration and the European Union have finally decided to start negotiations. An agreement is in our grasp. We can reach it, and this book tells us how. Difference, uncertainty is the trademark of our time. Every day, of both sides of the Atlantic, we are reminded of the many things we share. We share the same values of democracy, individual liberty, the rule of law, and human rights. We share the same interest in surmounting our present economic difficulties and promoting prosperity for our people. And we share the same concerns for the future and the same enemies. And here, I would like to express my deepest sympathy for the families of the 3 people killed in the Boston bombings and the many injured, and my deepest contempt for the authors of such a horrible and cowardly act. In Spain, we are very well acquainted with the brutality of terrorism. Over 1,000 Spaniards have been killed by those who believe the ends, their ends, justify the most violent means. We know how it feels to bury innocent children and comfort broken families. And we also know just how important international cooperation is, both for preventing acts of terrorism and for bringing terrorists to justice. That is what the Atlantic Alliance is about working together to better face the fundamental challenges the 21st century has in store. The history of the 20th century shows what we Europeans and Americans are able to achieve together. Together, we have been able to defeat the 2 greatest threats to freedom, fascism and communism. And together we have been able to extend the benefits of an open economy to people who for centuries had been denied all opportunity. The result is widespread peace and a new world economy. A new world economy in which nations that until now had little to contribute and even less to say on international issues have become major global players with an increasing share of the world market and growing influence in world affairs. Quickly, before our very eyes, the center of gravity of the world economy is shifting. It is moving from the Atlantic to the Pacific, but also across traditional borders that now appear anachronistic. Local economies are integrating in supranational blocks. They are benefiting for trade agreements to gain scale and become increasingly competitive. The question, dear friends, is quite simple. Are we really doing our best, everything we can, everything we should, to maintain our leadership? Let me start briefly with Europe. With its imperfections, the European Union has been considered a model of economic integration in many places around the world. In Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and America, countries have set up trade agreements and integration policies looking at Europe for guidance and example. Our common currency, the euro, is indeed a historic achievement and should be recognized as such. When I was elected in office, I made it my government's priority that Spain be amongst the first countries to join the euro. It was not an easy task. We had to push through deep structural reforms in record time. It required a lot of explaining, a lot of determination, and a lot of leadership. As I insist on explaining then, joining the euro was not an end in itself. It was not the culmination, but the beginning of a journey towards European integration. A journey which I was convinced then, as I am convinced now, will reap great benefits for Spain, for Europe, and for the world as a whole. The first benefit was peace in a continent with a dark story of conflict and war. The second was freedom and prosperity for millions of citizens. In the past 50 years, trade barriers have fallen. Markets have integrated, and European citizens have enjoyed a degree of liberty, mobility, and welfare that few could have dreamed of, let alone foreseen. Of course, that the situation in Europe is far from idyllic. Like other areas of the world, Europe is suffering a deep economic crisis, which is taking a very heavy toll on the middle classes, the backbone of our societies. However, the crisis is also opening people's eyes to reality. It is no longer possible to ignore reality or duck responsibility. Being realistic and responsible means accepting that we need to address the debate over the future and limits of our welfare states. Being realistic and responsible is recognizing that we need to move much faster and much deeper in the process of European integration, taking real steps towards a full financial and banking union. And being realistic and responsible means reaching an ambitious free trade agreement with the United States that can, and in my opinion should, one day also include those countries of Latin America that have shown their commitment with freedom, democracy, and the values of an open society. The alternative is not a good one. Are we going to sit back whilst others move forward? Are we going to relinquish our leadership? Are we not going to face up to our duties toward this generation and the next? We have an extraordinary opportunity. Our generation can render an enormous service. We can join both sides of the Atlantic, creating the largest economic and commercial alliance in history, a vast area of free trade that will benefit millions of people in our countries and around the globe. The United States of America has a long and successful experience in leadership. You know what world leadership means and what it demands. You know that it requires strong convictions and even a stronger determination. That is why I am sure you will not hesitate in the path towards the creation of a common transatlantic market. That path will not be easy. No great enterprise ever is. The obstacles are high and the impediments many. And yet I am convinced all these obstacles can be surmounted. And just takes two things: a lot of hard work, like the one José and Jaime have put into the report we present today, and a clear political will. The political will to uphold a paradigm of true freedom and prosperity and extending to the rest of the world. This, I believe, is crucial. Strengthening the Atlantic Alliance and opening it up to other freedom-loving nations of Latin America and the world is not only in the best economic interest of our citizens. More fundamentally, it is in the interest of the values we cherish and share. It is the best way to preserve and extend the pillars that have made Western civilization the utmost human achievement: representative government, the rule of law, free market, and civil society. The 20th century saw the United States and Europe stand together, struggle together, and suffer together for the sake of freedom in the world. The spirit of that common endeavor must never be forgotten or lost. It should inspire the ideas we defend, the decisions we take, and the plans we pursue. Together, we can provide certainty to a fast-changing world. Together, we can overcome economic difficulties and stimulate growth. And together, we can better take advantage of the many opportunities that the 21st century already offers. That is, dear friends, the main message I have come here to convey. In a global scenario, when competitions runs rife and in which no challenge is small, the best way forward is to move closer together and closer to the values that distinguish us. Let us make the Atlantic a true cradle for freedom, democracy, and stability and prosperity in the world. It is a vast undertaking, but one well worth our efforts and our leadership. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.